We're excited about being here this morning. It is indeed a lovely day, isn't it? Yes. Lovely day. Lovely, lovely day. Doesn't it seem like when you're in a hurry and you're trying to get somewhere and you're driving and you get to a stoplight and there's always somebody that's right in front of you, the light turns green, and yet they stay right there in the intersection, right in front of you, blocking you. And you're saying to yourself, what are you waiting on? Why are you there? And a lot of times you pull around and they're doing like this, or they're just kind of sitting there oblivious to everything that's going on. And it seems like that sometimes that people are in the way. Am I talking to somebody this morning? Do you understand that? It seems like people are in front of you, especially when you're in a hurry. And you ask the question, what are you waiting for? And this morning I want to ask that question, not so much for you that are drivers, because there might be somebody here that's guilty of that, and I don't want to put you on the spot. But I do want to talk about this morning. We're saying this month our theme is the power of decision. And we have put it out there for you that you are a part of the universe, and you have the opportunity and you have available to you all that the universe has to offer, and it's your choice. Now is the time for you to make the decision for life, the decision for wealth, the decision for abundance, the decision for health, the decision for love, the decision for all things. And my question to you this morning is, what are you waiting on? Now, I know that some of you are thinking, I'm in the decision process. And remember, the first Sunday we talked about ready, aim, 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 aim. We never get to firing. And I know that sometimes that can be because we find that life itself has sapped energy from us. It's sucked energy from us. That things that are going on in our lives have a way of taking away that very vitality that oftentimes can make it possible to make that decision. You know, things that happen in life that hijack our hope, things that derail our destiny, things that cuff our conviction, things that crush our courage, things that happen to us in life that make us feel as if we are going nowhere. We're just spinning our wheels. We're just constantly practicing, but never putting the show on the road. Those kinds of things can oftentimes discourage us. And so it becomes important for us today to understand that we have the opportunity to make a decision and to act on it. But there are some things that oftentimes happen that keep us from doing that. Things that keep us from doing so. And one of the first things that often happens is we give our power away. We give our power away. I remember a number of years ago, I got a sort of frantic phone call from a friend of mine. She said, I'm really in a desperate situation and I really need to talk. So I got in my car and drove to Nashville, sat down. And as I listened to her, she told me the story of the relationship that she had been in and how the bank account was empty. The car that was her car, he took off in and she hadn't seen it in 3 days. How she was afraid to go to the house that they lived in together because the last time they were there, the way that he had responded. And as we sat there, she looked at me and she asked the question, how did I get myself into this? How did I get myself into this? And she continued to talk about a lot of the things, unfortunate things that had happened in the relationship, but she kept coming back to, how did I get myself into this? And it just kind of came to me, and I said, well, you know, anytime we make anyone or anything more important than ourselves, we give our power away. And she unfortunately had found that she'd given her power away. And so as we continue to talk and explore what we could do, I said, one of the things you've got to remember is it's time to reclaim your power. Another thing that can happen for us in addition to that is that we will oftentimes put other people on a pedestal. Oh yes, we do that. Oh yes, we do. Oh yes, we do. We put lovers, we put business people and millionaires, we put entertainers and rappers, we put all kinds of celebrities and other things like that. We put even ministers and clergy people and spiritual leaders and everybody else on a pedestal, and we think that they are greater than we are. And the thing of it is, we put them on that pedestal and we think that they have more about them and more to them than we do, and we find ourselves again stuck and paralyzed and unable to move forward because we always think that there's someone better than us, someone that has more than we do, has more ability than we do. Or oftentimes we imitate rather than create. We imitate rather than create. We unfortunately live in a culture of imitation. But what people do is they see something, it looks like it's successful, and pretty soon everybody else is doing the same thing. We imitate rather than create. But creativity is like a muscle. That when we begin to use the muscle of creativity, it gets stronger. And the thing of it is that we have the ability to create, to all be creative. And it doesn't matter. You know, the thing that oftentimes I will say to people is because we think that certain people are creative and other people just don't have it. That some people are born with creativity and others aren't. But we're all creative. We are all creative. We all have the ability. I remember years ago when Shelly was just a little girl, and she made me this, I still have it, a drawing. And she had spent a lot of time with crayons and everything else, drawing and everything, and then she gave it to me. She said, "Here, Daddy." And to me, that was a masterpiece. And I remember taking it to my class, and when we talked about art and about the creative arts and all of that, and I held this up, and I said, one of the things that happens is we want to say what's art and what's not art, but art is self-expression. And when we allow ourselves to express, we create, and when we create, we are in the divine flow. And when we're in the divine flow, it's all right. I mean, you may not be able to play like Philip or paint like Matthew or photograph like Brandon, but the thing of it is that I'm creative. We're all creative. There's some times where, unfortunately, we think that the source is something outside of ourselves. There's the television show a number of years ago that was called Northern Exposure. I don't know if anybody remembers that show. All right. But there was a character on there, her name was also Shelly. And Shelly had received a chain letter, you know, that's how long it was. A chain letter in the mail that says, if you don't send this off to somebody else, bad things are going to happen to you. So she got really nervous, and so she made a copy of the letter, and she put the address on to a friend, and she took it down to the post office. And she said, okay, I'm gonna mail this off, because if I mail it off, because the letter had promised that good things happen to this person and that person who mailed the letter on, but bad things happen to the one who didn't do it. So she mailed the letter off, and then a couple of days later, she started to notice good things happening. Well, the letter worked. I sent it off and everything. A few days later, more good things happened. She started taking some chances on things. Things started to happen. And then a couple of weeks later, she went back to the post office. And as she walked in, the clerk said, "I've been waiting on you to get back here, Shelly. You forgot to put postage on the letter." It never made it out. She thought the power was outside of her, but the power was within. The power was within. And then there's sometimes that we will tolerate a whole lot rather than recognizing we have the ability to make a decision about. There are some of you will recall that story that's in what we call the Hebrew Bible in the book of Exodus. There's the story where, remember, Pharaoh had this confrontation with Moses, and Moses had gone and said that I'm here to say to you, let my people go. And they had gone back and forth, Moses and Pharaoh, and then there were the 7 plagues that were visited upon Egypt, the way that the story goes. And the second one was of frogs. There were frogs that suddenly, it says that after Moses said, if you don't do this, I'm going to pray, and then frogs are going to come everywhere. And so Aaron stretched out his rod, and frogs started coming up out of the Nile River. Interestingly enough, that the Egyptian magicians did the same thing, and it came up. That's another story, though. But there were frogs everywhere, and they were just really terrorizing the people. Frogs in the bed, frogs in the food, frogs in the bathroom, frogs everywhere. Just imagine, frogs, frogs, frogs. And finally, Pharaoh said, okay, enough. Bring Moses here. Moses came. It's okay with Moses. Okay, I'm tired of all the frogs, and everybody else is complaining to me about the frogs, and they're everywhere. I can't get them off of my mind and everything. Okay, I'll do what you say. So Moses says to Pharaoh, well, you've got frogs and everything here, and they've been all around and everything. So when would you like for me to get rid of the frogs? And this is a classic line. And Pharaoh says, tomorrow. Tomorrow. And just that little line there has spawned sermons and lessons and songs and everything. And most of the people say, one more night with the frogs. That he was willing to spend one more night after something that had plagued him, something that had irritated not only him, but all the other people around. I'm sure the Pharaoh's wives were upset, and all the people close to him about all of these frogs. But he was willing to spend one more night with the frogs. Sometimes, just when we are on the cusp of making a decision, there is something that is more comfortable with what makes us uncomfortable than there is with change. So we stay stuck in it, and we won't make a decision. We won't move. We'd rather spend one more night with the frogs.
All right, preach.
So my question to you is, what are you waiting on? What are you waiting on? And you might look at all of the stuff that's happening around you. You might say, John, but you don't understand. There's so much going on in the world, so much happening, so much that is taking place. We are looking at what happened with things like with Sandra Bland in Texas, and we're looking at what happened here in Memphis with Darius Stewart. We're looking at what Donald Trump said this week, and we're looking at the beef between all of the things that happened with Drake and Meek Mill, and we're looking at all other stuff that's going on. I'm so caught up in all of these things, and I'm just, just mesmerized by all of this, and we're talking about all of those things. And so you don't understand. You don't really understand. There's something else that's been happening in the midst of all of this that I hope we would pay attention to. And it might not mean a whole lot to just maybe but a few people in here, but in the midst of all of what is happening, the Deep Space Telescope revealed to us the fact that there are more planets and universes, constellations that are out there than we ever thought. In fact, they're saying that they're planets that are very identical to Earth that are out there. Now that might not seem like much to you, but if you think for a moment what the implications are, is that God, as we talk about it, and it's really dangerous really to talk about God, because anything that we say about God is limiting God, is defining and taking away from God. But we declare God to be the creative force and source of the universe. And So all of a sudden, I think one of the planets that was identical, or think maybe even Earth's twin, is something like 1,400 light years away. But the thing about it is, it says to me, we're talking about something that is vast, something that is beyond just our little concept of God, a God that's hateful and vengeful and jealous and hates certain people and doesn't like certain people and favors other people and all of that, that if there's all of this out there, how can God be as small and as petty as we sometimes like to make God, as we sometimes like to teach God is? That if all of this is out there, this vastness, then there's more to life and there's more to us than we can really imagine. And as I read those accounts about the discoveries that were taking place, it made me think back to an experience that I had a few years ago. There's a place on the campus of the University of Memphis where I don't know what it is about that spot, but I like to go there and sit. And there could be people around me skateboarding and throwing frisbees or doing whatever else they do, and people walking by. But when I'm in that spot, I'm at peace. And I remember one day going to campus, and I was getting ready to go teach a class. I might have been teaching you an English class. I don't remember what it was. But I remember sitting in that spot. And as I sat down, there was a moment at which I saw all of the universe. My mind, and it was just for a brief second, but I saw the stars and the constellations, the galaxies and the planets, and everything right before me. And it was expanding. It was like I was traveling through it, and then all of a sudden, all that energy sucked back down into me. And I was right there again. But I heard something that said, infinite, but particular. Infinite, but particular. That I'm infinite, but I'm in this particular place, right here and now. That I'm infinite, but I'm in this particular situation, right here and now. That I'm infinite, but I'm this particular person, right here and now. That I'm infinite, but I'm this particular expression of God, right here and now. That I'm infinite, but I'm this particular way, right now. And the thing of it is that when I find myself on the cusp of making a decision, and the thing that is before me that seems fearful, I get a reminder that I'm infinite, but particular, that I'm in this situation. I might be anxious, I might be afraid, I might be nervous, I might start to doubt myself. I might look at it and think, I can never do that, I can never be this, I might never do that. But the thing that I go back to is that I'm infinite, but particular. And it's that infinite that lets me know that there is nothing that can stop me when I make that decision, when I make up my mind and I step out there and do what I need to do and make happen what needs to happen. That it's not just me doing it, but it's me, the particular with the infinite inside of me, expressing as me. And as the old folks used to say, it makes a way out of no way.
Teach.
It does what it needs to do. So what are you waiting on? What are you waiting on? Because the message this morning is, you are also infinite, but particular. And the thing of it is, you are beautiful particulars. Nobody can outbe you being you. I have something for you. What are you waiting on? It's yours. Choose it today. And so it is.
If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid.
together today. We're thankful for the message, for the voices from the heart, for all of the activities that we have participated in today. And as we leave this place and start our week, let's think about what John said. What are we waiting on? So it is.